Hey everyone, it's Candace, and today I'm going to talk about healthy eating and how to start eating healthier. It's a common thing. People come to me and they say, I want to start eating healthier. What can I do? Well, let's start at a base and think about what healthy eating actually is. Healthy eating is eating a variety of foods that's going to give you nutrients, vitamins, minerals that you need to maintain your health, to stay healthy, to feel good, and to have energy, because ultimately we eat for energy. Um, Incorporating nutrient dense foods that are whole foods and trying to limit the amount of added sugars to things. An approach a lot of people like to take is like 85% super healthy foods and leaving about 15% for some of the more fun foods, because we all know that it's very hard to separate food from emotion, and so many of our fun events are tied to food. We don't want to be the one who can never eat anything because we're trying to be healthy. We need some balance. So 85% super healthy and leaving a little bit of room for some of those less healthy alternatives. Things that are maybe not nutrient dense, things that maybe that are not the whole foods. Maybe some of the processed foods can kind of come in right there. Just a little bit, not too much. So, how can you start to eat healthier? Well, think about what you can add to your diet. You don't need to completely scrap your diet. Where can you make small changes? What can you add? So, you definitely want to be adding in fruits and vegetables, making sure you're getting a good amount of servings of those in the day. If you're not having any vegetables in your day, that might be the smallest place to start. Pick out a couple different types of vegetables that you might want to try or that you know that you like, and incorporate them in your week. You can always do the approach of trying to pick out a bunch of different colors of vegetables, because having a colorful diet gives you a good variety of different vitamins and minerals, and it's a little bit more pleasing to look at. That's one of the easiest ways to help kids with getting healthy, is doing, making your plate look like a rainbow, having different colors on there. If there's only one color, are you getting enough nutrients and vitamins in your food sources, or are you kind of limiting yourself and not getting much? So you also want to try to limit the processed foods and have more of the whole foods. Look for the labels. A lot of people just like to look at the food label and be like, okay, it has this much sugar, it has this much whatever, this much calories. But I really like to pay attention to the actual ingredient list. You want to find things that don't have an ingredients list of a million things that you don't even understand. You might want to start to limit those kind of things in your diet if you're trying to eat healthier. I didn't say completely scrap them. We can leave a little room for some of those things, but maybe start to change and trade out some of those things for more whole foods or options with less ingredients when you look at the ingredients list. So you also want to make sure that you are getting a couple different sources of protein throughout your week. Because our body doesn't store protein, we use it on a daily basis, we need to continuously be giving our body protein. It can be from animal sources and even plant sources, but animal sources are going to give you complete proteins. The plant-based sources, you do have to do some pairing to get complete proteins, but that I could talk more about that in another video. Just focusing on getting some type of protein is the easiest way of starting to get healthier. Because like I said, your body doesn't store protein, so if you eat a whole bunch, doesn't really matter the next day. Your body kind of already used it. You store carbohydrates in terms of glycogen stores throughout your body that you can use for energy later. Protein is not the same. Fats, we can store that and we can get access to that later. But protein is something you have to be continuously incorporating. So protein and vegetables are super important. People are often afraid of carbohydrates, but they're very important in your diet as well. Fruits and vegetables are carbohydrates. Your grains, your whole grains, those are carbohydrates. Don't be afraid of carbs. You just need to watch portions of things and watch the added sugars. The added sugars is what gets people into trouble. So trying to limit as much of the added sugar as possible is also going to be another way of helping you move towards healthier eating. So another aspect that you need to remember is that calories matter, because that is a part of managing your energy needs. Your body needs a certain amount of calories to be able to do daily functions and for you to be able to run around and do things. If you're not eating enough to fuel your body, that can lead to some unhealthy things as well. If you're overeating and you're starting to gain weight and that's not your goal, then that's also a problem as well. You have to have a good balance, enough fuel for your body to function, but not excess where you're starting to store and gain weight, and then that leads to unhealthier outcomes. So I already touched on this a little bit, but you do definitely want to try to prioritize foods that are not processed. So making sure you're getting these whole foods in your diet. Limiting the processed foods will be helpful. The thing is with a lot of the processed foods is they're not nutrient dense. You're not really getting any real nutrition from some of the foods that are out there. And they're very highly palatable. So you have a bite of something and it makes you want more. Like, try eating just one Cheez-It. I can't do it. You get the taste and you just want to continuously eat. And a lot of these processed foods are very snacky type of foods. They're not really serving much of a purpose in terms of your energy needs. They're just kind of filling voids for some people where they just feel like they need a snack. Maybe they're not even hungry. And these foods typically will not have much fiber or anything to them, so you can eat a ton of them and you're not really getting full that fast. You just have to be cautious with those types of foods. The foods that have such a high palatability where they just taste, like the taste is just super strong. Like, not like when you take a bite of an apple, you're not like, oh my God, I have to eat like 10 apples after this. The processed foods have ingredients in there that are making you want to eat more. A lot of these processed foods are also very convenient, so they're very easy to grab and just start eating. So we just want to limit those. We don't have to get them out completely. If that's your goal and you want to completely clean up everything, you could take them out. But if you want to have a little bit of freedom, you can incorporate some things in there. Just be mindful. So it's typically talked about that foods that you do want to incorporate in healthy eating would be fruits and vegetables, whole grains, getting in lower fat dairy, having protein, limiting alcohol, limiting the processed foods that are going to be high in salt and high in sugar. Really, it's watching all the excess sodium that gets put into processed foods. If you're not eating a lot of processed foods, a lot of times you don't need to even worry about sodium. Or when you go out to eat, there'll be a higher sodium content. But if you're cooking at home, it's going to be, you probably might need to even supplement in some salt. But it's really watching total sodium from your different food sources and watching the added sugars. Those are the things that will get you a little bit into trouble and are in excess, start to work against your goals of trying to be healthier. All right. So I briefly touched on limiting alcohol, and sorry, I said limiting. I didn't say completely take it out. You can still, it's still okay to have some. Ideally, you want to lower, limit, or even omit alcohol from your diet if you're trying to be healthier. You're not getting any health benefits from drinking alcohol. Limiting it and not having it in excess is going to be your best bet in terms of eating healthy and incorporating alcohol into your diet. So healthy eating can be a little bit confusing for some people because a lot of stuff's marketed as healthy. And if you really look at the label, maybe there's a ton of added sugar to it. Maybe some of the ingredients are healthy, but overall, if you eat that all the time, it's really not the greatest thing for you. a lot of the nutrition bars out there, they're not really that great for you. Maybe, I mean, like I said, 85%, whole foods, eating healthy, and 15% of these other things. So there's room to incorporate some of these health foods, but they're not always the healthiest options. I was reading, which was pretty cool, that the FDA might start to implement some changes with labeling things as healthy, which that would help take away some confusion. And they said that they would try to make it more geared towards what they actually push for healthy eating, which would be foods that have lower amounts of sodium, lower amounts of added sugar, lower amounts of saturated fats, and contain good nutrients in them. So it'll be interesting to see how things change in the future when it comes to these labeling. But I know marketers are going to push back because you see a thing in the store and it says healthy, or it says keto, or it says this. But then when you really look at the nutrition label and really look at the ingredients, maybe one part of it's healthy for you, but then added stuff in there is not the greatest. So it gets a little confusing. So that would be awesome if they could start to crack down on some of these labeling rules. But I'm not sure how quickly that can happen. So overall, if you're thinking that you want to eat healthier, I would cook as much food as possible at home, because if you've ever paid attention to nutrition labels of going out to eat and looking at what they say your portion is, sometimes it can be like 3 times as many calories as if you cooked it at home. So maybe limit going out to eat and cook more often at home if you're trying to eat healthier. Pick out a few different types of proteins to have throughout the week. Pick a few different types of fruits and vegetables to have. Think colorful. Limit the processed foods. Limit. You don't have to take them out, but just try to limit and have more whole food ingredients and things with ingredient lists that are a lot smaller.